So one of the good and bad things about not reading very much this year is that I didn't buy a lot of books this year, which normally is a big drain on my bank account, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. So I didn't really buy that much because I wasn't feeling that motivated to read, and I wasn't even watching booktube videos that often, not like usual. And that's where a lot of my inspiration to buy new books comes from, is from recommendations from those channels. But over the past couple of months, I have purchased a few books as I've kind of picked up speed on wanting to read again. So I thought I would share my most recent book haul that I've gathered over the past 2+ months, and just share kind of what I've purchased and why I'm excited about eventually reading these books. So I don't know if you're familiar with The Cottage Fairy on YouTube. Her name's Paola Merrill. I think I'm saying that right. And she had a wonderful YouTube channel, which she still occasionally updates. But especially during kind of the COVID years, she shared a lot of her kind of rural living, simple living videos and became extremely popular. And she just has such a sweet and calming nature, and her videos are just wonderful and beautiful to look at. Anyway, so in recent years, she's gotten married and had a baby, and more recently purchased an independent bookstore in her little hometown. And so when she posted about that, I thought, well, I would love to support her in her new bookstore. And so I purchased a couple of books from them. And so the books I purchased from them are this one, which is called Frances and Bernard by Carleen Bauer. So this is one that was recommended on Jen's channel, Jen's Reading Life, and it's an epistolary novel, and I believe it is based on the lives of Flannery O'Connor and Robert Lowell. So I love to read epistolary novels. I love reading letters in general. Even just like real letters that people have written back and forth can be some of my favorites. So I'm excited to read this, and just I thought I would show you some of what was in the package. So there's a little bookmark from Metho Valley, Washington, which is where the Cottage Fairy lives, Paola, and where the bookstore is, sorry. And then she also sent, she's an artist as well, and she sent this little card with a personal message, which was very nice. So if you want to get some books from an independent bookstore and support a new business, I would definitely recommend checking out Trails End Books, and check out Paola's YouTube videos as well. She's just such a comfort, and sometimes I go back and watch her older videos, and they're just so beautiful to look at. So that's the first book I got from them. And then I also purchased this book, which is called Miss Silver Comes to Stay by Patricia Wentworth. It's a mystery, kind of golden age mystery, and I've never read anything by this author, but I attended one of Beth's chats that she does on YouTube and Instagram on Thursday nights, Beth from Small Home Comforts, and she spoke about this book in particular and this series about a detective, an older lady named Miss Silver. So I really don't know much about it, but I thought it looked like fun, and I thought I would give it a try. So that is another book that I got. The next books are two in a series that are currently being written by one of my favorite currently writing historical romance authors, and that's Mimi Matthews. So this is from her series called The Crinoline Academy, and I got the first book, which is called Rules for Ruin. And I'll just read you a little bit. It says, on the outskirts of London sits a seemingly innocuous institution with a secretive aim: train young women to distract, disrupt, and discredit the patriarchy. Outraged by a powerful lord's systematic attack on women's rights, the academy summons its brightest and most bitter pupil to infiltrate the odious man's inner circle. A deal is struck. If she brings down the Viscount, Miss Euphemia Flight will finally earn her freedom. But betting shop owner Gabriel Royce has other plans. The Viscount is the perfect pawn to insulate Gabriel's underworld empire from government interference, and he's not about to let some crinoline-clad miss destroy his carefully constructed enterprise. And of course, I'm sure those two will have an enemies to lovers situation on their hands. So I'm curious to read this series. And then the next book in that series is called The Marriage Method. This one just came out. And so I'm excited to read this one as well once I finish this one. So I went ahead and bought both. Mimi Matthews is pretty reliable author for me. I'll always, buy whatever she puts out. So hopefully I'll get to those before too long. She writes romances set in the Victorian era, which I really enjoy. So many of them are Regency era, which I also like, but it can get a little samey. So something that's in a different time period is definitely appealing to me. Next up, I purchased Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. So I have read some of Maggie O'Farrell's other books years ago. There was one that I really loved, and I wonder if I can, what was it called? After You'd Gone. I think that may have been her first published novel. I read that a long time ago and loved it. I haven't read it since, so I'd be curious to see if I would still love it. But of course, this book is so popular and so famous, and they've just put out a movie about it. And to be honest, at first, I wasn't really that, when I first heard of the book, it didn't appeal to me that much. But once I saw the trailer for the movie, I was like, it kind of does look like it would be good. And I don't want to jump straight into the movie without having read the book first. So I did get a copy, and I'm hoping to read that in the near future. It definitely sounds like a tearjerker, so I'll have to be in the right frame of mind. It sounds pretty sad, but so it's based, if you don't know, it's based on kind of a very, I would imagine, an extremely fictionalized version of William Shakespeare and his wife and their son Hamnet. I mean, we truly don't know that much about Shakespeare and his personal life and what he was like or what his marriage was like, so it's really got to be just complete fiction, but that should be interesting, I think, to see what she imagined for them. So looking forward to that. The next book I got is a used copy, and buying used copies online is very hit or miss. Sometimes they're in great shape or they reflect exactly what they say, and sometimes they have a gross sticker thing on them and are all kind of banged up looking, but that's the risk you take, I suppose. But anyway, it's called The Kennedy Debutante, and it's a novel by Carrie Marr. The reason I wanted to read this one is because recently, I know I've talked ad nauseum about the Fitz Osborne series, the Montgomery Journals by Michelle Cooper. And in I think it was in both the second and third book, one of the characters that the Fitz Osbornes interact with is a real life person, Kit Kennedy, who was, her real name I think was Kathleen Kennedy, but she had a nickname Kick. She was a younger sister of Joe Kennedy and the older sister of JFK, I believe. So part of the Kennedy clan. And she had a very interesting life of her own and died quite young and tragically. She was in London. Her father, Joe Kennedy Sr., was the American ambassador in the pre-war years. And so his whole family would come there often and were involved in the social scene of kind of aristocrats and so forth in London. And Kick and the heir to the dukedom of Devonshire fell in love and ended up getting married. And it was a big thing because, of course, she was very Catholic and he was very Church of England. And that caused a lot of rift between Kick and her family. And then sadly he died soon after they were married. And then eventually I believe she found another love and he died in the war. So, and then she died in the war as well, I believe. So yeah, not necessarily the most cheerful, but I found her to be such an interesting character, the fictionalized version of her in the Fitz Osborne book. I think a lot of the times when they put a real person into a fictional book like that, especially as a side character, it can seem kind of hokey, but she was so well written and interesting and just felt like another person in the series. So it made me want to read more about her, and not necessarily nonfiction. I wasn't really in the mood for that. So this novel I know came out not too long ago based on her life. So I'll be curious to read this and see what I think and see if the Kick of this version lives up to the Kick of Michelle Cooper's side character in the Fitz Osborne series. The next book is a memoir, so nonfiction, and it's from the Furrowed Middlebrow series published by D Street Press, and it's called Spam Tomorrow by Verily Anderson. So this is a World War II memoir, and I've heard several people talk about it recently, so I thought I would give it a shot. On the back it says, from an impromptu wedding in the early days of World War II to a bout with German measles in a hospital reminiscent of a medieval torture chamber, to becoming the first casualty for overeager VADs, verily Anderson's war gets off to a bumpy start, and it doesn't get any easier. In this acclaimed memoir, we follow the inimitable Verily and her husband Donald through all the vicissitudes of war, including the unforgettable birth of Verily's first child in the middle of a German bombing raid. And it's supposed to be funny, poignant, harrowing, and just interesting in general. So I'm always interested in World War II, especially in London during the Blitz, sort of the home front, both in Britain and in the US. The home front is always so fascinating to me, and how people lived during that difficult time. So I'm excited to read this one. And Dean Street Press and the Furrowed Middlebrow, that's so hard to say, they are pretty reliable with having interesting and good books, so I'm excited to check this one out. Next up is another nonfiction, and this is a book by an author that I've been following on YouTube for many years. She has a very wonderful YouTube channel, and it's Jennifer Scott, and her YouTube is called The Daily Connoisseur, and she talks about so many things on that channel, so things like style and homemaking and cooking, gardening, reading and books, and just, different things that are of interest, I'm sure, to a lot of you that are watching this too, journaling and writing letters and things like that. So this book is a recent publication from her. I think it just came out like this month or last month, and it's called The Daily Connoisseur's Guide to Living Well at Home, Making Everyday Life Extraordinary. And it's published by the same publishers who put out Victoria Magazine, which I really love. So even though I've been following Jennifer's channel for a really long time, I'm sorry to say that I've never read one of her books. So she has a trilogy of nonfiction books called the Madame Chic series, and she talks in that about her time living in Paris as an exchange student and the lessons she learned from French culture, things to do with style and homemaking and food and different things like that. And for some reason, I've just never actually read them. And then she just published this book as well. So I am behind, but I'm excited to read this one. It sounds absolutely like my cup of tea. So just a little bit about it. It says, transform your daily routine into a life of elegance and intention with Daily Connoisseur's Guide to Living Well at Home. From the creator of the beloved Madame Chic series comes a fresh philosophy for designing a home and a life that's both beautiful and meaningful. Discover how to declutter with purpose, prepare nourishing meals, implement realistic rituals, and embrace joyful pastimes. With heartfelt stories, practical tips, and journaling prompts for self-reflection, this guide is more than a book, it's a movement. No matter your space, your dream life begins now. So I love this kind of book about, coziness around the house and self-improvement in a sort of gentle and cozy way. So I'm excited to read this, especially as the new year comes. I thought I showed the end paper is so pretty. And I believe it's illustrated as well. It does have some artwork in it that is really cute. So you can see that. The illustrations, let me give credit here, by Alice Tate, T-A-I-T. So there's another one. And then it has recipes, different little places for notes or journaling prompts. So it's a beautiful book. It's so nice. I just cannot wait to dig into it. And it's the kind of thing I really love to read in January. I always feel very motivated in January to start a new day planner and get really focused on journaling again and come up with some goals and things. Whether they will all come to fruition or not, who knows, but it's always fun to start with something like this. So I think I will be picking this up in January for sure. Next up is a book by one of my favorite booktubers. I'm sure you all know Miranda Mills. So she just recently published this past year a book called The Country Commonplace Book. And she's been talking about commonplace journaling on her channel for quite a long time. She actually got me started into doing it a couple of years ago. I haven't kept up with it that well, so it's another one of those things I'd like to restart again in the new year. But this book is written with, it's written seasonally, so it has the history of the commonplace book, and then just different quotes and excerpts from poems, and it's beautifully illustrated. Look at that, so nice. So just things for each season, and it'll be a really fun book to, I think, go through as the year goes on. So I'm getting more and more into that, where I really like to have some books going that are kind of like the Gladys Tabor book that I have been reading this year, where there's like a chapter for each month, something that you can kind of pick up throughout the year and keep you inspired. And I think this will be a great one for that. So it says, this seasonal touchstone is packed full of quotes, book lists, recipes, poems, and observations on the natural world to help you connect more deeply with yourself and with nature. So it sounds great. Miranda has amazing taste, and I'm excited to get into this book. I'm really behind on her channel, unfortunately. Just like I said, when I'm not reading as much, I don't tend to read or to watch BookTube as much either. So which, you know, is kind of exciting because I have a backlog of her videos and some other people's too to catch up on now that I'm feeling a little bit more in the mood. So between this and watching her channel, I'm excited to dive back into a lot of Miranda Mills in the new year. Next up in my book haul is a book that I purchased from the UK through Blackwell's, and this is called Penny Plain, and it's by Anna Masterson Buchan. And she is better known as O. Douglas. I almost said O. Henry, but that's a different person altogether. So her pen name was O. Douglas. I've never read one of her books, although I have heard about her for a long time through Miranda and other people. And she was a British woman writer during sort of the interwar years, I believe, and post-World War II. Let's see. So she published her first novel in 1912, so actually even a little bit earlier than I thought. So yeah, I'm excited to read this one. It says Jean Jardine is 23 going on 50, but she doesn't mind at all. That sounds like me, although I am 50, but even when I was 23, I always felt like I was going on 50. Her mission in life is to look after her brothers in their happy Scottish borders home of Priorsford, a town just big enough to be respectable. Jean has all she could want in life. After all, not all orphaned siblings are blessed to carry on their lives in such an especially homey cottage as the Riggs, with its garden wall, a creek bridge, and attentive neighbors who see that Jean's artlessness is more charming than she knows, and that a heart like hers that loves simple pleasures is bound to be made happy. Here, Jean is sure she will always stay, because who could ever come for a penny plain girl like her? So I'm going to assume there's some romance in this, but I don't really know. But I know this is one of the books that Jen and Rebecca are doing for their Cozy Readers book club in the coming year, and I wanted to get a copy of it, and this is actually an extremely beautiful copy of this book, so I'm very impressed. It's published by a publisher called Noggin Nose Press, which I had never heard of, but the cover is so pretty. It feels so nice. The paper is beautiful, and the font is perfect, just like such a nice size, and the paper feels so thick, and just, I mean, this is such a corny, like, book nerd thing to talk about, but I imagine that you understand. When a book feels nice and is a pleasure to like touch and hold and turn the pages, it's just extra special. So very excited to read this one. Theodore, hi. You want to come say hello? Look in the camera. Say hi. So the next book in my book haul is The Wonderful World of James Herriot, a charming collection of classic stories. And it's another very pretty book. So this, I believe, is just a collection of some of the stories from his other books. So I have all of his books, but I just, you know, I can't resist having another copy of something by James Herriot, especially something so nicely published that you can just kind of dip in and out of and read a story here and there. So I'm excited about this one. And I'm actually thinking about maybe trying to give the current All Creatures Great and Small TV show another chance. So I love the old version. I grew up watching it with my parents, and I just have such a soft spot for that old version starring Christopher Timothy and Robert Hardy, and it's just so good. And so I started, when it first came out, I watched the first couple of episodes of the new All Creatures, and I just couldn't get into it because I was like, this is not the same, and they've changed a lot of things from the books and from the original TV series, and I just kind of shut my mind to it. Change is hard for me. I like the, you know, the originals of things usually. But so many people I know love that series so much, and my mom is just obsessed with it, and she's always talking to me about it. She's like, you just need to not think of it as the exact same as the book, not think of it exactly the same as the old show, and just enjoy it for what it is. So maybe I should give it another shot. So let me know what you think if you watch it, if you think I should get over myself and just give it a try. But sorry if you can hear a cat toy going over there, story of my life. But anyway, so yeah, James Herriot is always good in the winter months, especially. I feel his stories are so cozy. And so I'm excited to dip in and out of this book and maybe give the new TV show a try. We'll see. And finally, the last book in my book haul is a illustrated copy of Lark Rise to Candleford. And I've never read this book before, but it is one that is in the to be read list for the Cozy Readers Club that Jen and Rebecca do. And so I thought I would get a nice copy of it. Unfortunately, this is another one where what you get when you buy a used book is you just don't always know what you're going to get. So I assumed this one, it looked like it was going to have a slip, the cover on it. It doesn't. And it is not in the best shape. The pages are kind of like they've had some liquid spilled on them at some point, which I'm not too thrilled about. But, you know, that's the risk you take when you buy used books. But it is very pretty, and it has a lot of really lovely illustrations. So I am curious to read this one when the time comes. I think they're only reading part of it, not the whole entire book for the Cozy Readers Book Club. But anyway, and that's another series that I haven't watched yet, even though I know a lot of people love it. So the TV show, Lark Rise to Candleford, I haven't seen that either. But so many books, so many shows, and so little time. But anyway, I'm excited about that one. So those are my recent purchases. I'm feeling excited about reading again, which I am so happy about because I love reading books and I love buying books. And actually, even aside from these, just yesterday or the day before, I purchased a pretty big stack of books from Thrift Books. So we'll see when I get those. If I get them before I stop making videos for this time, I will share those. So yeah, I do intend to keep going, even though I know Vlogmas officially ends on Christmas Eve, is the last day of it. I think I'll probably keep on with at least a couple more videos between now and New Year's, because there are a couple of topics that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet, and that I thought would be fun to do. So you're not done with me yet. I will be back. And in the meantime, I hope you're having a great run up to Christmas and getting everything done that you need to. I will be spending this afternoon. I'm filming this on Saturday, so I'll be spending this afternoon hopefully wrapping up the last of the presents for my niece and nephews, getting that all done. I have to work on Monday and half of Tuesday, and then after that I will be free until after New Year, so I'm very excited about that. And tonight my oldest nephew's coming over, so I'm going to make us dinner, and it'll be a fun night. So anyway, looking forward to hearing from all of you, and let me know if you've purchased or read anything lately that you think I should read, and let me know about the All Creatures Great and Small. Should I go ahead and give it another try? And I will be back to talk to you guys soon. Bye.